There are many mysteries bound to the nature of Terraria, secrets not even the oldest protectors of the world are aware of. Secrets such as the Shadow Flame, an entity of death that eternally burns at the very heart of Terraria, quelled only by the ever-vigilant hands of the demons. Who placed it there and for what reason has, for countless millennia, been a question without answer. Even the one responsible for planting the seed of destruction knows not why it was done, or even that it was him who did it, for the act dates back so far that this would-be destroyer of worlds has become a whole different person, forgetting his past and the actions that went with it. Gods had begun. Humanity had all players deep and challenging, with different is less likely to get me horribly Within the cosmic pantheon of elder and outer gods, there are any number of individual deities who pursue their own machinations. Any number of schemes constantly hatched and discarded. These typically involve the subjugation of some lesser form of life, but contrary to the belief of many, not all of these beings wished to see reality ablaze with nightmarish flame. In fact, some desired quite the opposite, to put a stop to their brethren's foul intentions, even if it was only for their own perverted entertainment. Regardless of the motivations, their actions would foster a necessary balance throughout the cosmos, for without it the cosmic gods themselves would fall into anarchy. Probably the most notable of these arguably benevolent elder gods was Nodens, a being that often took the resemblance of an old man, and chased down the minions of his fellow elder gods, immolating them with his purifying shadow flame, and earning him many enemies for the effort. One of these foes he had earned the particular scorn of was Nihilitep, for Nodens had relentlessly dogged the Chaos God in an effort to prevent the spread of his corruption. Ultimately his attempts would fail, but for the corrupt lord, they would not be soon forgotten. Over vast stretches of time, Nodens would travel across the universe, continually thwarting the plans of his own brethren, but even after all these ventures, he was ill prepared for what he must now face. Deep in the maddening recesses of the cosmos, he had uncovered a long-missing Great Old One, calling himself the Moon Lord, a creature shunned and thought to be dead by the pantheon. Much to Nodens' surprise, he was very much alive, but deformed, his body having been ripped open as though maimed. Little did he realise that the mutilation had been done at his own hand, as part of a ploy Nodens would come to regret exposing. Compelled to investigate though, the Elder God would discover that the Moon Lord had tricked the Lesser Gods into constructing an entire planet, a planet that would become Terraria. But it was not this new world that concerned Nodens, more what the Moon Lord intended to do with it. By discreetly observing the Old One's actions, it was revealed to him that he planned to use the world as an incubator for a race of creatures that were destined to swarm across the cosmos, consuming everything in their path. Nodens had seen many schemes in his time, but nothing quite like this. Most were the schemes of bored gods, looking for some kind of entertainment, dominating a world or two just to use their inhabitants as playthings. The Moon Lord's plan, however, was on a whole different level. It would undo the tentative balance that kept the universe in check, and throw reality itself into unending turmoil. Stopping him would not be simple, and Nodens knew that there would be no sport in doing so, as it may end up costing him his own life. But still, he felt an odd sense of responsibility, knowing that he was the only one who knew of the plan, and the only one able to prevent it coming to fruition. Maybe all those eons of interfering with his own people's schemes had not just been for fun after all. Against his own nature, he chose to put an end to the Moon Lord's plot, in the only way he knew how. He would have to destroy the partially constructed world, or at the very least ensure that it could never produce the nightmares it was intended to spawn. To this end, he would draw upon all of his experience to covertly enter the heart of this infant planet, and spark a flame that would suck all life from the world, as it had with so many of Nodens' enemies throughout the ages. To keep it hidden from the Moon Lord, Nodens intended that the flame would propagate over the centuries, gradually growing larger and more intense until the point it would snuff out all life that had developed on the world, leaving nothing but a barren husk. There was no way to guarantee his plan would be successful though. That was unless he were to remain with this new world to correct anything that went wrong. It was a responsibility that might cost millions of years of his life, but he had come this far already, and no matter what he must give up, the Moon Lord had to be stopped. Before Nodens could settle in for the long haul, however, disaster may have already struck, for irregularities had been noticed with the primordial Terraria, and quickly the builders had been forced into regulating a rapidly dropping core temperature, potentially destined to do so forevermore. Despite the shadow flame at Terraria's heart being responsible, the builders reported that the problem was simply due to the world's unnatural origin. It might have been that they had genuinely not seen the truth, but more likely it was that they chose not to reveal it, harbouring a great hatred for the ones who were Lord enslaved them, and desiring the power of the Shadow Flame for themselves so they may take their vengeance. In fact, their descendants would indeed eventually find and harness the Shadow Flame's great power, but by then, knowledge of their subjugation had been forgotten. Whatever the case, Nodens' plan would remain the same. He must stay with Terraria to ensure that, when the time was right, the flame would flare up and snuff out whatever abominable life the Moon Lord had seeded. As his long exile on Terraria dragged on, however, just like the builders, Nodens began to forget about his previous life. So entrenched was he in the persona that he had created to walk among the people of the world, that of a simple clothier. Inevitably, his life on Terraria became all he had ever known, so when the crawling chaos descended from the stars, he felt as helpless as everyone else. Nihilitep, on the other hand, did remember. He remembered every thwarted plan, every opportunity Nodens had snatched from him, and he was going to make him pay. He would make Nodens an instrument of chaos, force him to do as the corrupt god commanded, and when it came time for it, Nihilitep would live on for the now frail old man, making his every moment torturous. For Nodens, though, everything was the doing of the cosmic god, his extended life, the strange power he had been granted. It was all Nihilitep's doing. Naturally, the task he remained on Terraria for remains incomplete, and every day the Moon Lord's seed, the Crimson, spreads further. But now the champion has freed him from the grasp of his old master. The old clothier is beginning to rediscover his true power. One day he may remember his past, and finally set about cleansing the world of the Moon Lord's scourge. But then, on that day, it will not just be the Crimson that burns in the cosmic shadow flame, but all life on Terraria. Hi everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did and want to support the channel, then please consider subscribing and hit that bell so that YouTube might possibly inform you when a new video comes out. If you want to go that bit further, please feel free to support the channel on Patreon or go and buy some merchandise on Spreadshirt and Teespring. Links are all down in the description. Other than that, have a great day and I'll see you next time.